the university. And I am privileged to be joined by Dr. Stephen Edward Moore. He is a senior lecturer, Department of Mathematics, and Professor Diletta Martinelli, Professor of Mathematics, University of Amsterdam, the Netherlands. Good morning and welcome to ATLFM.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I trust you're doing well.
Yeah.
We thank God for that. And today we are talking about gender and mathematics, and the idea is to gather from you, Professor Diletta, some experience, knowledge, especially concerning gender and mathematics over the period and your research area and everything that has to do with it. And that's why we are engaging you and Dr. Stephen Moore this morning. We are grateful that you made time to join us. Listeners, let me bring to your notice that Professor Diletta Martinelli is a professor of mathematics. Like I said, her research interests are in algebraic geometry and, in particular, in higher dimensional birational geometry. Her work aims to study effectivity questions on algebraic varieties related to their underlying topology as complex manifolds. She completed her PhD at Imperial College London in 2016 and worked as a researcher at the University of Edinburgh and University of Glasgow, Scotland, UK, and University of California, Berkeley, USA. Wow. You are a great woman.
Thanks for having me.
You are
it's
a
really
great woman, and we are proud of you. Let me begin with you. What excited you? What inspired you getting into mathematics?
Yeah, so when I was finishing my high school, I wasn't sure about what to do. I didn't have a clear career path in mind. But I attended a popular science talk one day by a mathematics professor that was about non-Euclidean geometry. And basically, for a long time, mathematicians thought that Euclidean geometry was the only possible geometry, the geometry that described the three-dimensional space we live in. And at a certain point, there was this realization that instead this is only one possible geometry, but it is possible to conceive different types. These are what are called non-Euclidean geometry, that simply describe geometry of spaces that are not flat, but they have a certain curvature. And this was really like a mind-blowing revolution. I mean, it expanded what people thought it was possible. And this idea, to me, was, this was the most exciting thing. And after that talk, I said, okay, this is what I want to do. This is why I want to study mathematics. So this idea that with the power of abstraction, you could imagine different words and go beyond somehow the boundary of the concrete words around you. So that's what excited me at the beginning.
And this exciting... your area of research, if you can tell us again, what your area again?
Yeah. So I work in algebraic geometry. So it's one type of geometry, and to me, geometry is really something pretty visual. The idea that you want somehow to describe the world around you. So having some concrete object that you're trying to describe, like curves and surfaces, or something then of even higher dimension. And there are different types of geometry, and what I do is called algebraic, in the sense that want to use all the powerful tools coming from algebra in order to study this geometric object. And I went into the field because, as I said before, I was really fascinated by this idea of geometry. So I stayed true to my first love, and I just kept continuing working in geometry. So my love for mathematics was really a love for geometry from the very beginning. So I tried to look for courses in that direction. I was also lucky that I met on my path. The best professor I had were professors in geometry, so then it was easy to just keep studying in that direction.
So was it just about being fascinated about it, or the love for it, or there are other reasons why you went into this research area?
It was really like, first I decided just what do I like more. So depending on the first course, I think that when you pass from high school to university, there are I mean, the mathematics that you encounter is very different. There are so many different topics that you didn't even know they existed when you were just a high school student. And I just asked myself, what do I enjoy more? And it was always like, in the end, the geometry courses. So in my first 2 years, the course that I enjoyed the more was a course about projective geometry that describe, again, the structure of this specific geometric shapes in a specific setting. And so then when you have the possibility of start specializing a little bit, I started actively choosing the courses in this area. And so I was always more guided by what do I like the more. What do I like more? It's also true that my specific research area, it's a very Italian subject. So I'm Italian, I did my bachelor in Italy, and there was a school, so-called Italian School of Algebraic Geometry in the past century, and you could still see that in the topic that are presented in a bachelor, there is a bit of a stronger focus on that, because that's a kind of tradition that you had in the country, so there were many professors working in the field. So I think it was also maybe pretty natural to end up in that field, because it was really predominant in Italy. So compared to maybe other places where there are stronger focus on other area, for me it was just a pretty natural choice.
That's a good one. Listeners, you're free to join the conversation. Dr. Diletta Martinelli is obviously an inspiration to many women or ladies or girls out there. We don't often find women or ladies venturing into mathematics or the area of mathematics. So we are so proud that you have achieved what you have achieved. Dr. Moore, you're free to join the conversation. You have anything to add? You can.
So there is an issue with also even from the gender perspective, that we don't have really a lot of even female PhD holders in Ghana in mathematics.
Do we have statistics as to how many we have in Ghana?
There are only five.
Only 5 in Ghana.
In Ghana who have women with PhD in mathematics. So this is very low, and this is a bit of on a very, very low ground. Of course, in general, in all over the world is the same, but we have a population of about 31 million people. I think in Ghana the female population is 51%, and so to have such disproportionate amount of PhD holders from mathematics side, not just for mathematics, I think in general it's a science problem. It's something that we can actually work towards and raise awareness on what should be done, and raise awareness for more participation from the young ladies or young girls in the senior high schools around us, in Wesley Girls, Holy Child, Ghana National, and raise this awareness that there is a pathway for them to go into higher studies of mathematics, which is also something that Diletta will talk about. That you can have a PhD in mathematics, and there's a smooth pathway for achieving such things, and to be able to come into the academic aspect or the university aspect of life, or the research aspect of mathematics as well.
I will let us zoom into how we can make that happen, especially with the girl child, the lady, and there's always that phobia with mathematics when it comes to ladies. But I think that the solution is there. If we all avail ourselves, we'll be able to do it. I want to come back to Dr. Martinelli. Tell us some of the challenges you think young mathematicians are likely to face, so that we zoom into country by country if it is the same, or what the setback is. But let's begin with the young mathematician. What challenges?
I think that unfortunately the academic system is getting more and more competitive, in the sense that there are always more talented candidates compared to the opportunities available, and this is true especially for opportunities connected to scholarship. So usually the path is a challenging one, because you always have to somehow gain the next step and facing strong selection and competition. And this requires a lot of determination, focus, but also having access to the right network that gives you the right information to how to be best trained for the next step. Because always every step is interconnected. So if you want to get a good PhD, you probably need to have had a good master in the right place that give you access to the next opportunities. So I think in general, the fact that it's getting so competitive and the opportunities are not very much intrinsically increase the disparity that you have inside the system. And this, I think, is really like have a disproportionate effect on minority communities, because you have maybe less access to the network, less access to the right information and the right circle. And you can see that both in terms of like the gender disparity that we said at the beginning. I mean, if you already have, I mean, for women, I think is in general harder to be perceived as successful, and if you have so many selection process, this is something that increase the difficulties that you have, even in terms of self-confidence, being able that you can gain the next step. And when in terms of like the situation in different countries, that it gets I think it gets very different compared to different places. And especially, I supervised several African students in the last year. So if you want to talk, I mean, specific about the African context, I think that in order to have a good PhD scholarship, it's usually good to have a master that is of high quality, because arriving to a PhD is already something that is very specialized. And unfortunately, there are not that many master scholarship available. So this is, I think, is one of the key steps that create some difficulties, because you want to gain a good opportunity for master, but while PhD always come with a scholarship, for master, this is very much not the case. So there are very few opportunities, and they are very competitive to get.
Would you say that the mode of teaching could also influence the love that young ladies or young mathematicians would have for mathematics?
Yeah, I think absolutely. Having good teacher and also good role models that can represent you. If you don't have that many female teachers, I mean, we heard that there are only 5
just like you had with your professor.
I mean, for me, I think that it was really important, even before. I mean, I always say how crucial for my experience. So my mom is a physicist. She has a physics degree. And all the time that I was going back home with good notes in maths, everybody was saying, oh, you're just like your mom. So I had in my home just a role model for that. I mean, I knew that I would associate being good at mathematics with my mother. And then I have an older sister who was also very good at school and in mathematics as well. So for me, they were my first direct role models. And I always had someone to connect with. And when you start hearing the stereotypes that women are not good in math, I don't know. I knew from the very beginning they were just not true, because I had just in my home 2 amazing women doing amazing in mathematics. But then as soon as you progress, I think it really becomes important to have role model as teacher. And when to me, the big change was when I moved to the UK for my PhD. And then the gender disparity was really huge. I was the only female PhD student in a very big geometry group. I never interacted with female professor for a long time. So then you start really questioning yourself, because if you don't have role model you can look at, it's always this constant self-awareness and self-doubt. Am I good enough to stay here? Why I'm the only one in the room? Why there are not other people like me? So yeah, for sure, having more representation and role model is crucial, I think.
So listeners, we are talking about gender and mathematics. I have with me Professor Diletta Martinelli, Professor of Mathematics, University of Amsterdam, and also Dr. Stephen Edward Moore, Senior Lecturer, Department of Mathematics. So Dr. Moore, you lecture mathematics. Your evaluation of your student, what so far have you gathered about the challenges that they face as young mathematicians?
The challenges are that sometimes I feel people are more visual. A lot of Ghanaians are more visual, and also like the practicality of mathematics. And this is also a bit difficult, because not all types of mathematics are visual and as well as practical immediately, but they are concepts. Okay, so in my teaching for the last 2 years, for instance, what I realized is that a lot of the students are very weak in geometry. They kind of get lost with geometry, and somehow this is something that we are currently discussing as well. So there are a lot of other difficulties, and this is somehow also depending on which high school students have been to. What I realize,
and the exposure,
and then the exposure. Your students have been to very good high schools. They have had good exposure with some type of mathematics already, and it's always easier to build on even to discuss with them this kind of mathematics. So as she just said, it's the mentorship, depending on what the person has experienced in the high school, where they had a good math teacher. They always kind of have different ideas of solving these solving math questions that are posed to them.
So thank you, Dr. Moore. Professor Martinelli, your experience as being a woman mathematician, share with us.
Yeah, so as I said, there was really a transition when I moved to the UK. Before, when I started in Italy, there were actually many girls that studied in the first year, and then I think is more connected to the fact that in Italy, the common outcome, if you do a mathematics degree, is to go and teach in high school, and this is considered to be kind of a feminine profession. It leaves you time for family care. And only later, when you start to specialize more into pure subjects that are connected to research, then you start seeing the number of women decreasing. But also, sometimes there is this correlation between professions that are considered powerful and connected to highly paid jobs and how many women you have in the field. And in mathematics, in Italy, having a PhD in math is not considered such a highly prestigious position, especially to compare to, for example, engineer that is really male-dominated. So when I was in Italy, I never thought of myself as a female mathematician. I more discovered I was a female mathematician when I moved to the UK. In the UK, the situation is very different in the sense that if you do a PhD in mathematics, especially in a competitive university like Imperial College, you have access to all the jobs in finance that are highly paid. And so it's really considered like a prestigious position, and you have no women at all.
Okay.
So I remember, I don't know, the first impression that I had in the first welcoming day for PhD students, that I really noticed a huge disparity.
We're wrapping up the conversation. Maybe your final word, and maybe what you feel has to change with our current academic system in about some few seconds.
Yeah, so I think two main points. We should change how we recognize and reward excellence. I mean, given that the system is so competitive, there is this constant need to quantify what does it mean being a good researcher. And I think that how it is now, it is really blind to so many important contribution to the field in terms of like contribution to teaching, contribution to improving the department, the life in the department in general. And it's only focused on this number of publication, number of citation that is really like just a small way of looking at excellence. And as we all said, improve diversity and inclusion in the universities. I think that we are so far attracting a very homogeneous population, and this should really change. There is a lot of talent that we are missing at the moment.
Right, thank you very much. We had pressed with time, and that's all what time will permit us. We are grateful that you were able to join us in our studios, and you've been very resourceful this morning. And thank you, and have a beautiful day.
Thanks a lot. Thanks
Okay,
a lot.
listeners, so I had in the studios with me Dr. Stephen Edward Moore, Senior Lecturer, Department of Mathematics, and Professor Diletta Martinelli, Professor of Mathematics, University of Amsterdam, the Netherlands, helping us understand the issues about gender and mathematics. And from her own perspective, we are grateful that you joined us. Have a nice day. Remember, the issue segment was brought to us by, or is brought to us by, the kind Sketsi Salgen Medical Center. Your health just got better with Salgen Medical Center. Salgen Medical Center is the best medical center equipped with ultra-modern machines, with specialists ready to help you with your health problems. They offer services such as comprehensive eye care services, eye surgeries, laser procedures, dispensing of spectacles, ear, nose, and throat treatment, state of the art nasal endoscopy, otoscopy, and laryngoscopy. Saudi Medical Center has specialized staff such as ophthalmologists, opticians, and specialized doctors with experience in other fields with international and local exposure. Call them 0332 091232 or via email salgin@gmail.com. We still have another conversation here. Still the Atlantic Wave you're tuned into.